think that we belong in nature, and I think that the best kind of tourist attraction that you could make is where people are able to walk and engage with nature. And I think the Suck Valley has got that. I mean, 5 days of walking is fantastic. You know, if I do the first day and I go from A to B, what happens next? Do I take a bus home or what? What you need is at the end of day one, somewhere you can stay, whether it's a bed and breakfast or some sort of self-catering, which self-catering is really handy because people can be anonymous and book it in advance. And then you could do it the whole 5 days. And then it becomes attractive to people who do serious walking. I mean, you have a cathedral, you know, an open air cathedral. You have, you know, waterway, woodland, you know, I mean, the world is beautiful and people want to walk in it. And you know, the more that we live in urban areas, the more people need the healing of sort of rural landscapes. So it's absolutely a treasure what is in somewhere like the Suck Valley. And it's only a question of getting people to know it's there and bringing them.
For the past, I'd say 25 years, I've been walking the hills of Arigna, the beautiful Kilronan Mountain. I'll read you a very short piece that I wrote about Father Tynan, the good priest, Father Tynan. He died in 2014, and he was a warrior as he battled the darkness of midwinter and the snows of Arigna, because they spoke of him disrespectfully. They used to call him the walking, talking priest, because he never stopped walking, and when he sit down, I can stop talking either. He came to my door one night in January, many years ago. I had a black Labrador at the time with short hair, who scratched so vigorously that I was often embarrassed whenever there was visitors in the house, because the dog was always licking his testicles. The priest walked in the gate with a small lamp attached to his woolly hat here. The ditches were white with snow. I brought him into the fire and he sat on the sofa, and I didn't realise the dog was underneath, scratching away at the usual spot. "I'm terribly sorry," I says to the holy man, as the dog continued to do something hugely obscene. "I don't know why he does that," says I. "I bring him swimming in the lake every day. Surely he couldn't have fleas at this time of year." "Probably the ears," Father Tynan said. "You need to get a few drops from the chemist." "How do you know that, I wonder?" "I spent time in Africa," he said. Though how Africa related to my Labrador's ears, I didn't quite understand. I tried to make small talk as we sipped tea by the fire, and his woolen hat and black coat rested on the back of another chair. "That's a great lamp you have there," I said, referring to the torch attached to his hat. "I suppose it's a necessity in the dark." Walking around like a lost miner was not unusual for him, though he frightened the life out of me the first time I saw him in a ditch in the middle of the night. I'd often see him at night, the torch wobbling on his head and a high visibility jacket over his coat. He loved walking at any time of day or night. And that night with me, he talked about a pathway dream of developing for tourists. A pathway across Kilronan Mountain, along some of the old roads where the miners used to walk on their way out to work. Miners also wore torches on their heads, going down the mines, and they carried lanterns to work on dark winter nights. And they spiked the path with markers so that if it snowed, they would not get lost or fall into bog holes. And so the priest was in some sense following in their tracks and remembering them. "That's a very wintry night to be out walking," I says. "I'm not afraid of a good challenge," he says. "In fact, I once crossed the desert in a jeep in Africa. So the little hills of Arigna don't hold any fear for me." And the cool rains of Roscommon and the soft sleet showers of Kilronan Mountain were a gentle embrace compared to the encounters of life in Africa. And with that he walked off into the snow, and I watched the little light bobbing in the dark as he moved down the hill. The snow was beginning to fall again, like tufts of cotton. It was falling through the bushes and trees in the garden. Sliabh an Éireann and Loch Atlan had vanished. "Don't worry," he shouted back. "I can find my own way home." And that rang in my ears for years. And especially when he died, he was lost in the fog of Alzheimer's when he died. And yet I always felt he made his way home because he knew where he belonged. He belonged out there on the hills, walking up and down. He belonged there under the trees, looking at the buds of new flower coming, and wild daffodils under near the lake. He knew where he belonged. He wasn't afraid of death. He wasn't afraid of anything in life. He knew he belonged. And I hope that I belong there.
We're delighted, on behalf of Harmac, we're delighted to be involved in the Suck Valley Way initiative. We established our facility here back 25 years ago in 1998, and we've expanded a number of occasions since then. Part of our, you can see here, we've kind of summarised our company in 13 words, changing the lives of patients, employees and the communities in which we work. So the people that work for us, our employees and the communities, are very important to the Harmac ethos. You know, we're very happy to get involved in all sorts of community initiatives, and you know, being based here in Roscommon, or in Castlerea, I should say, in Roscommon, we've got a great hinterland of employees available to us. We have about 380 employees at the moment, and we're expanding right across our shifts at the moment as well. So it's always been a key part of our kind of growth plans to stay committed to Castlerea. And you know, we've been heavily involved in making investments in Summers Park and the hub here next door to us, with gym equipment and everything like that. So the well-being of our employees are key to our initiatives here as well, from a environmental, social and governance point of view. We've got a very active social committee here as well. So, you know, I think in a couple of weeks' time now we're doing the Stairway to Heaven climb. Again, we have a charity of the year that we raise money for each year. So, you know, we've got all sorts of these sort of tangents going out into the community. So we're always happy to hear from different organisations. We do a lot of tours here with the national schools and secondary schools to show people the other side of the medical device world, and you know what we're doing here and some of our capabilities on site. But it's key to us to have the employees here happy coming to work. So you know, we have a very active well-being program that you know cuts across a lot of our different departments within the company as well. As most people know, the heart of the medtech industry is based in Galway, and with that comes a lot of traffic issues, a lot of problems, you know, getting into Parkmore. I go visiting customers there on a quite irregular basis, but it's a nightmare getting in and out of Parkmore. People know that. So, you know, here in Castlerea, we don't have those issues. We don't have traffic issues, congestion issues, and, you know, we've got some lovely sort of activities that our employees take part in every evening rather than being stuck in traffic. So, you know, that's key to why we're committed to Castlerea. And again, you know, we've expanded this facility 5 or 6 times over the years, and you know, we'll continue to do that. We're totally committed to the investment we have here, and we're hoping to you know, do another expansion to the facility here next year and employ even more people.
Well, yes, I think the Suck Valley Way and the conference here today is absolutely fabulous for Roscommon. I think we have, you know, there are so much facilities around here that are untapped as yet. There are thousands of tourists coming to our country every year, and they don't mind. They're not worrying about the cross-border or anything else like that. They're worried about where is the nice place to go and walk and visit. We have such fantastic trails, lakes, river walks, and the countryside is so good with the fauna and everything else. So we're trying to protect all of these. Galway County Council, in association with Roscommon, are working together to ensure the Suck Valley Way develops even further. We're also working with Clare, Tipperary and a few other counties to develop all the kind of pathways around Lough Derg and all these other places, and the hidden valleys that are there, treasures in Ireland that we don't showcase half enough. So we're trying to bring our tourists in, put them to different parts of the country and showcase what Ireland is about. I think this is the second year of the Suck Valley Conference. It's growing from strength to strength. You can see the amount of councillors that now want to be involved. They want to go home, take ideas and develop their own areas in the different counties to say that we have these kind of amenities that are untapped as well. I can take, for instance, where I live in Loughrea, and there are certainly paths and everything else that we could develop and just do it further. So well done to Anthony. I think his idea to come up with the Suck Valley Way has been brilliant, and I wish him well. I hope it grows from strength to strength.
I have my education hat on today, lecture with South East Technological University, and there's one thing that we say in education is, how do you teach John Latin? And the answer is, you need to know Latin, but you also need to know John. Likewise, in tourism, we need to know our tourist. We need to know what tourism means to this area. And while we are part of the hidden heartlands, the Suck Valley Way is quite unique in its own right, because it runs from one end of Ballinasloe right down as far as Ballinlough in County Roscommon. So it's important to get people from Ballinasloe to the far side of Roscommon and to connect and to work together to create what I would propose a regional network of everybody evolved along the Suck Valley Way. And our blueprint is the Byrne Ecotourism Network, which have just been included on the Lonely Planet November 2020. And I was fortunate enough to follow the process of their success through days like this in the Falls Hotel in Inishdiamond. And they were like us. They were gathering together, collecting together, collaborating and developing partnerships, with sustainability being the underlying part, but at the same time profitability. We really need to take their lead, and while most people may feel we're behind in our development here, the beauty of it is that the tourists today are looking for exactly what we have, and it's unspoiled because we haven't done anything to it. And they're looking for off the beaten track. They're looking for an experience. They're looking for a bit of serendipity. They're looking for the story. And they're looking for a new skill. And I think that by all of us working together here, we can easily deliver on that. And one key point, and that has been brought through in this conference today, is what is ordinary for us is extraordinary for the tourist. So take pride in your place, and let's work together, all on board, because there is no Planet B, and we need to work together.
had a special focus today on the part that I spoke about, which was young people, involving young people. So here in County Roscommon, we're involving young people in the local economic plan and also the Next Leader programme. So we want young people to have a say from the get-go. And also today is very much about celebrating the work of communities in the Suck Valley Way, and it's telling the story of how communities built our walking infrastructure. First of all, it's key today. You have all county councillors coming from across the country. They're the decision makers. They sit on the Galway Roscommon Education Training Boards. It's very good for them to see how their programmes that they're in charge of, how they're delivering on the ground. It's an opportunity to have conversations in terms of the future and where we need to be. So without these conferences, where we would be, it's about framing where we need to go now for the next 5 years. Very much exciting at the moment in Roscommon, as in all our counties. We're planning. We're going out to communities, asking them to have their say in the local economic community plan and the Next Leader programme. And very importantly, in Roscommon, we're involving youth centrally in that. So we're having dedicated workshops with our young people, getting their say and getting their voice heard.
I became involved in politics during COVID, so I was still in college. I was living at home, I was only 21, and the opportunity arose for me to become involved. So one of our local councillors was resigning, so it was a huge decision to make at the time, and I remember it, and it was just, I suppose, coming at an opportunistic time in my life, where I didn't have a whole pile else going on because obviously we were in the lockdowns. So I suppose I decided to put my name forward after some consideration and went through the process of being selected, and was thankfully selected to replace the outgoing candidate. So then I became involved in politics, and I suppose growing up I would have been quite involved and active in community groups in my area. So that was, I suppose, the first key stepping stone, and then I saw this as the opportunity to really bring my community's views forward and enter into an area where I was kind of underrepresented, so there was no one really like me in there. So we had great female representatives, don't get me wrong, but I suppose I was only 21, female, and that was underrepresented both locally and nationally, so it was really an opportunity for a new perspective in local politics. I mentioned it during the panel discussion. Work-life balance is a huge thing, and I think coming out the other side of COVID, we're beginning to finally, I suppose, recognise the importance of looking after our own mental health and well-being. So I work a full-time job as well. I'm an occupational therapist, and it can be difficult. So politics can be often seen as being part-time, but really you're so accessible all the time. It's more than a part-time job. So it's really about setting some time aside for yourself, no matter what area of life you're in, what area of work, and recognising when you need to just take a step back and create your own space and your own time. So definitely, no matter what you're doing, look after your own well-being and your own mental health. I don't think the importance of it is often recognised enough, but it's so essential to everything you do. It was an opportunity for all of us to really hear where the gaps are, what we need to change and what we need to do to become a more amenable county and a more amenable country where we want people to stay and live. And it was great to get the 3 younger candidates speaking up there as well on the panel to really hear their views and identify what the missing links are in our county and our country. So it was a brilliant opportunity.
My role as the Tourism Officer for County Roscommon is to actively develop and promote Roscommon as a high quality tourist destination. So a conference like this is really important for promoting everything that's going on in the county and what Roscommon has to offer. As we've heard this morning, we've so much to offer in terms of many fascinating museums and period houses, but particularly as of late, the trails and the walkways that are being developed all over the county, including the Suck Valley Way trail, which really offers tourists a very tranquil walking experience. And there's excellent opportunities at the Suck Valley Valley for tourism, for outdoor pursuits such as kayaking and for angling. So it's all very important that we're discussing it today and bringing it to the fore. It's very important, you know, for Roscommon County Council, in collaboration with all the agencies and communities and the groups such as the Suck Valley Way, to actively promote the county and promote our tourist attractions and our walks and our trails, and just to really ensure that people know what is on offer in the county. We have a website, visit roscommon.ie, and it has a full list of the walking trails and all the heritage and amenity sites. So if people want to have a look on that, it's a very important website which really has a lot of information there that people can access.
It's been very enjoyable, I have to say, and very positive, particularly the engagement with younger people. And they are, as we know, the future of our country. And I think the fact that they were able to articulate some of the issues that they feel they're going to be dealing with in the future, such as rural transport, such as facilities for younger people, opportunities in education, and also eventually housing and rural development. And they're all issues that we as county councillors throughout the country deal with on a daily basis. And I'm certainly looking forward to saying one or two things about the role of county councillors in this country and how that role has been gradually been diminished by central government over many years. And I have concerns about the way things are going, and I would like to get them, and I think councillors generally like to get the message out to the people of Ireland that local democracy is currently under threat. Local democracy is the cornerstone of democratic accountability in this country, because the local electorate is the entire electorate who live in the country at that particular time in the local area. Nobody is excluded. Once they register themselves to vote, if they're living in the area, they're entitled to vote. And we are accountable every 5 years to that electorate, so we stand or fall based on the service we provide and how well we represent our constituents. That election is coming up again now in 2024 in a year's time. But I think one message again that I want to get out to the people of this country is that the powers that local councillors used to have gradually been whittled away, and that is going to have very detrimental effects on the entire country, but particularly on the rural economy and rural areas in this country.
There's a legacy of, mismanagement, I suppose, to some degree on a lot of the streams, not just in the Suck Valley area, but nationally. And what we're trying to do now is really address the effects of that mismanagement over many years and restore habitats that are being damaged, particularly in the sort of lowland channels like the tributaries of the Suck. The primary information is being collected by our officers on the ground. So in every river basin district we would have a number of fishery officers. And part of their jobs in the modern context now is to identify sites and rivers that have had this damage done to them and that would give us, if you like, a quick win in terms of restoring the habitat and bringing back wildlife and particularly fish into the area. Well, it's impossible to put limits on it. I mean, so many of our river channels have been damaged, and there's really any amount of them that we could be doing projects on. So what we're trying to do is focus on the ones that have possibly been most badly damaged first. And as we work our way through these and restore habitats over the years, we'll probably get to some of the ones that are less severely impacted then, after a number of years. One of the slides I showed there was of the litter and the discharges that have traditionally gone into rivers all around Ireland. And thankfully that's much rarer now than it used to be. People have much more respect for the environment now. But we're at a situation in our sort of development as a nation, I suppose, where we're starting to value our environment and our wildlife much more than we used to. And it's starting to take precedence over other things that we had previously regarded as being important.
I rolled out upon the dew with my morning cloak around me, intending all of my flocks to view. I spied a